debate. Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the skill game brought to you by Sleeper. We'll get to the Sleeper app here in a bit, but before we do that, we're going to talk about the Sunday night football contest in week number 7 in the National Football League. Two really good teams in the NFC right now at this current juncture in the Atlanta Falcons, who are traveling to Levi Stadium to take on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are an interesting team. They've dealt with a myriad of injuries. Seems like they're on the upswing, though. It seems like any week now they could be getting Brandon Ayuk back at the receiver position. Also feels like they're going to be getting their other wide receiver back. What's my guy's name? Shucks. I can't think of the Florida wide receiver that they drafted last year. But seems like he's going to be back here any week now. George Kittle's going to return in this game since I think he injured himself in week 1. So this will be his first contest since week 1 against Seattle. So things are looking up for the San Francisco 49ers. Unfortunately, this is the one thing that I don't know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in this game and just assume that life without Fred Warner is going to get better than what we saw against Tampa Bay when he first left the lineup. They didn't know how to act once he left the game, right? And you got to understand, like, he is the quarterback of that defense. He is the heart and soul of that defense. Him leaving was a shock to the senses. Him getting injured, and they just haven't played without Fred Warner in so long. And so it was going to take some getting used to. I'm just going to assume that was the worst that the defense is going to look. They've had a whole week of preparation now without Fred Warner. They're going to have to figure it out. D. Winters and some of those other guys are going to have to step up. But ultimately, I expect the defense to be better. But this is a good San Francisco 49ers football team that has just found ways to win despite all of the injuries. And they're not going to get their quarterback back this week in Brock Purdy. But Mac Jones has played phenomenally well in his absence. So that, to me, isn't really a big deal. I mean, you could argue that Mac Jones might be an even better passer of the football. The problem and the big difference for me is Purdy makes more things happen off schedule with his legs, the mobility, that sort of thing. But ultimately, feels like you're not any really worse off with Mac Jones. So that doesn't really move the needle for me as much as it would if another team's starting quarterback were out and the backup had to play, right? Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons, and so the 49ers sit at 4-2 on the season. They're leading the NFC West right now at 4-2, tied with the Rams. But remember, they beat the Rams on a Thursday night in LA, so they actually own the tiebreaker right now. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Falcons started out 1-2 on the season. They looked like they were going to struggle. They got shut out by the Carolina Panthers. People were really starting to question Raheem Morris. They were questioning Michael Penix Jr. after a really bad performance versus Carolina. And everything kind of came together that following week against Washington. They score a season-high 34 points. They win. They go on their bye week at 2-2. They come off the bye. No one's giving them a chance at home against Buffalo. They get that one. Really dominated that game, and the score doesn't really indicate just how dominant they were. They jumped out to a big lead, almost had the kill shot right before halftime. Drake London stepped out of bounds prior to piercing the goal line, and so that game ended up being a lot closer than it should have been, but they held on for the victory, and they're now 3-2 after starting 1-2. They've winners of 2 straight. They've played outstanding football here recently. Michael Penix Jr. is gaining confidence. His connection with Drake London off the charts right now. Bijan Robinson playing at the highest of high levels at the running back position. That offense is dangerous. The defense is the #1 rated defense in the NFL right now from a yardage standpoint, giving up. They're playing well on that side of the football. And so all of a sudden now, this Atlanta Falcons team went from an afterthought to being extremely dangerous, a live dog, or in this case, a live bird here with the Atlanta Falcons. And I don't know, the NFL they felt like this was going to be a fun team to watch this year. This is the third time we've had the Falcons on in a primetime setting. Remember, they were week 2 against the Vikings, right? Last week against the Buffalo Bills, and now we're getting them yet again here on a Sunday night, this time on the road at San Francisco. So in the first 7 weeks, we've seen the Falcons 3 times in primetime. So the NFL telling us, hey, we think this team's going to be fun to watch. We think this team has a chance to be good. And so far, so good. So let's talk about this matchup. Let's talk about the two teams and what we think is going to potentially happen in this game. And then we'll get to the sleeper app, and I'll make some picks based off of what I think is going to occur in this game. So let's start with the Falcons and how they can try to achieve victory in this game. I talked about them having the #1 defense. They've been really good at getting teams to third down, getting them off the field. They've done a really good job, for the most part, bottling up the run, forcing teams to have to throw the football. They've done a great job of playing tight coverage, forcing teams to turn down that first option, that second option. And by the time you look to get to the third option, there's pressure. And all of a sudden, you've got to either escape the pocket, throw the football away, or you're forcing it into tight coverage and it's incomplete. They've done a really good job of playing on a string. They have a young secondary with guys that have come in and just play really good football. And they've got a young pass rush that's continuing to grow as the weeks go on. And you look at this football team defensively, it's not flashy, right? They don't have household names yet, guys that you necessarily everyone knows about, but they're out here getting the job done together as a unit. Like, again, a lot of younger players, and not all of them have been massive contributors, but they've all done their part some way, shape, or form to help this team be the #1, yardage per game defense in the league. 2 first-round picks, right? Jalen Walker and Pierce Jr., right? So you've seen some of the pass rush. Also, when you bring in a veteran like Gumby that can, Leonard Floyd, if you don't know who Gumby is, I call Leonard Floyd Gumby. You bring in these guys, it transformed that pass rush. All of a sudden now, they've formed this really good defensive nucleus, along with Billy Bowman, 2nd-round pick out of Oklahoma, Watts, the safety out of Notre Dame. I think he was a 3rd-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. And they've come in, and all of a sudden now they've got this defense playing exceptional football. And, some of this is being done without their best corner. A.J. Terrell got injured his hamstring early in the season in that week 2 contest on Sunday night versus the Vikings. And yet they continue to play really good football defensively. What they've done, again, is they've won the early downs, 1st and 2nd down, and they've found ways to get you to 3rd and long, and then they've gotten off the field. And this is an opportunistic defense. They're forcing turnovers. That's something that the Falcons have done really well with great efficiency this season, is they've forced turnovers. They're taking the football away. They're getting their hands on the ball. And if you're not careful, if you're putting the ball in harm's way, if you're trying to fit it into a tight window and it gets batted in the air, someone's going to pick it off, right? So they've done a really good job of getting teams off the field, whether it's via a 3rd down stop, via a 4th down stop, or picking the football off, or just taking it away. So look out for this Falcons team trying to take the football away from Mac Jones, who at times can be a little bit adventurous with the football, for lack of a better term, right? Meanwhile, offensively, this offense has come to life. After the shutout at Carolina in week 3, they've kind of flipped the switch. They pressed the button offensively. Drake London has come to life. Pitts, he's still hit or miss. He hasn't really had the biggest of impacts here of late, but he's had some games where he's been tremendous, especially the game against Washington. He was really good in that game. But, Pitts is still a problem, but it's really been Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Michael Penix Jr. It's been that triumvirate right there, that triangle of talent that has really catapulted this offense. And don't forget about Tyler Algier, the other back in that backfield. Everyone talks about Bijan, and rightfully so. But Algier is the perfect complement. He's a battering ram. And that complement of Bijan and Tyler Algier, again, after Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit, you can't find a better tandem in the backfield than Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in Atlanta. And so when you see those two guys getting it going on the ground, and it sets up play action fake, and it sets up opportunities for Drake London to run through zone coverage, he's getting open. He's making plays. He's using that frame. He's starting to look like the top 10 pick that people thought he was going to be coming out of USC. And he's playing at a very high level. And him and Michael Penix Jr. are building a really tough relationship with one another, that they're starting to become one of those tandems in the league that you could see really blossoming into the future. And they're both young, and they can grow together, and they're starting to make beautiful music together. Bijan is a guy you can throw it to, you can hand it to. He's been dynamic. And so this offense is starting to take shape, and they've really done a lot of this damage without seeing any real production from Ray McCloud or from Darnell Mooney, both of which have been kind of absent. Mooney more so via injury, but you really haven't seen any of these other guys chip in to this point. So eventually, Darnell Mooney's going to become a factor in this offense. Eventually, Ray McCloud's going to become someone that you have to pay attention to. So you think that the Falcons are starting to play really well, and they still are just scratching the surface of what they can be offensively. Meanwhile, I don't know if their defensive prowess is sustainable throughout the course of this season. I'm not sure I'm buying what they're selling defensively, but it's worked to this point. Got them 2 big wins in a row. They're at 3-2, and they're looking to make it 3 straight on the road here at San Francisco. Speaking of the 49ers, they're coming off of a tough loss at Tampa Bay, and that was a loss that I really felt like it was really largely in part due to the fact that Fred Warner got injured, and he's such a big part of what they do defensively. They couldn't get a stop after he got hurt. There were all kinds of breakdowns in communication, guys running wide open down the field. They gave up all kinds of big plays, things we're not accustomed to seeing the 49ers do. They did in that game, and I'm just going to chalk it up to Fred Warner's communication not being there, him not being able to get everybody lined up, him being the heart and soul of that defense. I'm going to chalk it up to that. What I am going to do is be paying very close attention to this defense in San Francisco after the loss of Fred Warner. If they look like they did a week ago against Tampa Bay in this game, then I've got to start to question whether they're going to be right defensively the rest of the season, right? So this is a big game for me, watching them defensively to see what they look like. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've got a lot of good football players, a lot of young, good football players on that defense. And so I think they're going to be able to bounce back here against Atlanta at home. But they've got to show me that game against Tampa last week, and Tampa was really good on offense. But remember, Tampa was without their top 3 targets at the receiver position. And if you throw in Jalen McMillan, they were without their top 4 targets at the wide receiver position. There was no Mike Evans going into the game. There was no Chris Godwin going into the game. And then Emeka Egbuka got hurt relatively early in that game. There was no Jalen McMillan going into that game as well. So your top 4 targets are down, and they still gave up well over 30 points. They let Tez Johnson and others get involved in that game. And so I've got questions. Let's see if they have answers on Sunday Night Football. This is not that offense that you're facing this week. But again, I just talked about the dynamic duo of Drake London and Michael Penix Jr. and how they're really establishing a real connection. And then there's Bijan Robinson, and he's a whole different issue onto itself. So let's see if they can bounce back this week defensively, get their act together, slow that Falcons offense down. And then I really believe in this. First of all, you know how I feel about Kyle Shanahan. So I don't have to explain to you that there's a trust and a belief that I have. We've seen the injuries that they've gone through this year. We've seen what they've had to do with the receiver position. We've seen them pretty much make magic, right, out of that, Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne, and Christian McCaffrey. and Jake Tonjes. Like what he's been able to do, he being Kyle Shanahan with next to nothing offensively. He said it's the most strife he's ever incurred at the receiver position in his life as a coach. I have to agree with him. What he's had to do here, like remember, Kendrick Bourne wasn't on this team to start the season. Kendrick Bourne didn't show up until like week 3 or 4 for this 49ers team, and he's their leading receiver, right? And Christian McCaffrey is their actual leading receiver. And he doubles that of Kendrick Bourne. I think Bourne has 23 catches. McCaffrey has like 46 catches on the season, okay? Like, if anything happens to Christian McCaffrey, they're screwed, right? But McCaffrey has been stellar. Bourne has been outstanding. They filled in the gaps at the tight end position without having the services of George Kittle. They haven't really missed a beat despite Brock Purdy really only playing 2 games this season. So they've had a chance to find a way to just navigate this season thus far. And I'm actually surprised that they're 4-2, to be honest with you. No one gave them a chance against the Rams on a Thursday night, found a way to win that game. I didn't think they were going to beat Jacksonville at home, found a way to win that game. Lost that game, right? That was a game I thought they were going to win. Excuse me, I said that all wrong. I thought they were going to win that game at home against Jacksonville. They lost that game against the Jaguars. So, I keep saying they're 4-2. This is a 3-3 team, if I'm not mistaken. I think you got 2 3-win teams here. They lost in week 1 to Seattle. No, they beat Seattle. They are 4-2. My mistake. They are 4-2. They beat Seattle. I did not think they were going to win that game, and they did win that game. I did not think they were going to beat the Rams, and they won that game. I don't know. I still don't know how they won the Arizona game at home. I still don't know how they managed to pull that off, and they won that game. And then they obviously have, found a way to win the games that they've won this season, beating the Rams, beating the Cardinals, beating the Seahawks. They've already beaten every team in the division once already. And so they're 3-0 in the division. They're 4-2 overall. They found ways to get it done. But this is a big challenge at home. They're starting to get healthier. I trust Kyle Shanahan more than I trust Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris is a subpar coach in this league. Clock management, game management, he's awful. So I don't trust him. I trust Kyle Shanahan. And I feel like the better team in this game is the San Francisco 49ers. I got to see this offense, though, right? I mean, this defense, rather, in this game without Fred Warner. They spooked me a bit last week against Tampa. The inability to force field goals, the inability to get stops, the big plays given up, the defensive breakdowns, guys running wide open. They spooked me a bit. So now I need to see that they're okay defensively. If they can't show me that, then this is going to change the whole way that I approach the 49ers moving forward, because Fred Warner isn't walking through that door the remainder of the season. They've got to adjust without him. They've had a week to be able to figure out how they're going to replace him and move forward without his services. Let's see if they can do it. I've got the 49ers finding a way to win this game. Too much McCaffrey, too much Kendrick Bourne, too much George Kittle in his return back. Got the 49ers finding a way to get it done in a 27-23 win over the Atlanta Falcons. It would not shock me if the Falcons went in there and won. With the way that they're playing offense right now, and more importantly, the way they're playing defense right now, it would not shock me if they won this game. But I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers at home to continue playing really good football to start this season. So let's get to the skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game, brought to you by Sleeper.
All right, so Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 6 million users in 2023. Those 6 million active users in 2023 had to have blossomed to at least 8 in 2025 is my guess. With people like myself and you all out there that are using this app and having a blast doing so, I can't imagine that this thing hasn't already bubbled to over, 8 million active users. But if you're not one of those active users, what are you waiting on? Download the Sleeper app today. There's a link in the description of this and every single video that I do. Use that link. It'll take you to where you can download the app. Download the app. Make sure that it is available in your states. Available Sleeper is in over 25 states in the U.S. Once you've done all of that, you've verified and gotten signed up, got a special promo for you this month of October. They're giving you $20 free just for downloading the app, verifying and getting ready to rock and roll. They're giving you $20 to use on the app. And as you've seen before, if you haven't, you're going to see tonight, doesn't take much to win you a bunch of bucks on this app. So 20 can go a long way. It can stretch for you, right? But if you also want to make sure you get some real bang for your buck, use my promo code LTN to get you a 100% deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. That's right. Dollar for dollar match. You put in $100, they're going to give you an additional $100 to spend on the app. So what are you waiting on? Get it done. I'm going to show you how to use this app and show you how to have some fun, but most importantly, how you can put some money in your pocket, right? So easy to use interface here, right? Very user friendly. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the NFL, right? And we're going to go all the way to the Sunday night game. San Francisco 49ers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. There it is right there. I'm going to click on it. It's going to bring up all of the picks that they have available for that particular game. I always like to start with the hot picks to see what that looks like. So we're going to start with the hot picks, right? Bijan Robinson, 37.5 receiving yards. He's done this. It feels like 2 or 3 weeks in a row. I've used his receiving yards and he hasn't let me down. Each of the last 3 weeks, he's exceeded 37.5. He's done that 4 out of the 5 weeks this season. So I have every reason to believe that he's going to do it again in this game. And he's probably going to have to, right? Being that they rely on him so heavily out of the backfield. So that feels like one that feels like a no-brainer. Just take the 37.5 receiving yards for Bijan. You can either go Bijan catches or receiving yards. I always like to go with the yards because Bijan can have 2 catches, but it could go 2 catches for 75 yards. And so you just don't know how many times he's going to touch it out of the backfield as a pass catcher. But you can bet that one of those catches is going to go for 15, 16 yards. And so he's going to find his way to those yards quicker than he is the catches. I'll take a look at the catches, though, just to make sure I'm more comfortable with the yards. I may be more comfortable with the catches this week. Same thing could be said for Christian McCaffrey. He's a go-to for me with his receiving yards. He hasn't had less than 52 yards on the season receiving. I told you he's their leading receiver. Again, he's another guy that I don't know if I'm more comfortable with the catches or the yards. With him, it's probably better to just go with the actual catches because they could dump it down to him. The Falcons could be ready for him, but he's still going to catch the ball 5 or 6 times. We just got to see what that number is. Matter of fact, we should be able to see it here. They got it set at 5.5. Woo. He hasn't had a game with less than 6 catches, though. But that's why they have it set at 5.5. It's still a lot. I just always cringe at that, but he's not like the rest, right? I think I'm just going to stick with the yards with him. It doesn't make any sense to get into the catches. Just give me the yards with McCaffrey because they're going to throw him the football. We know that to be a truth. I wonder if I should go Mac Jones passing attempts or yards. He's going to have to throw the football. They're not going to run their way to a victory in this game. He's going to throw the football. Let me see what they have for passing attempts. 34.5. Golly, I was hoping 31. Let's see. He hasn't had less than 39 in any of his games. So when he's out there, Kyle is very comfortable with him throwing the football. Feels like a game where he's going to have to throw the football again if they're going to have a chance to win. So I think I'm going to, and let's see what the yards have been this season. He's been over 245 every single game he's played. 279. 279 was the lowest. I mean, I really don't think you can go wrong either way with Mac. The passing yards feel more like a sure thing than the actual attempts. I could be wrong. This is the number one defense he's going up against. He could throw it 39 times and still not have 245 yards passing because of how good Atlanta's been defensively. So it could backfire on me. You know, I probably should just go with the attempts because if they're trailing in this game, he's going to have to throw it. It may not equate to a bunch of yards, but he's still got to throw it. I think I'm going to go with the attempts, actually. That's a lot. 35 is a lot, but I think that's what I'm going to end up settling in on. Bourne, I mean, that's his go-to guy at the receiver position. You've seen what he's done, 142 yards each of the last 2 weeks. It almost feels like there's no way that he's not going to get to that number again. Him and Mac Jones just have a tremendous connection. I'm going to go ahead and take the receiving yards there. And I may come back and change some of this because these are small multipliers. At some point, you got to put your foot down and say that you're going to look for something big to happen. But I digress. Let's see. Yeah, nothing else here. How about a Kyle Juszczyk touchdown? This feels like a Kyle Juszczyk touchdown game. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, Kyle Juszczyk out of the backfield, little play action fake, rolls into the flats, catches a little 2-yard touch. That feels like a Kyle Juszczyk touchdown game. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's go to receptions. Anytime touchdowns. Let's stop. You know, I'm a big Bijan, Christian McCaffrey. Anytime, we'll wait on those. Kittle coming back, his first game. I can see him touching pay dirt. Jake Tonjes. He shouldn't play as much with Kittle back, right? That's what I'm telling myself. I don't know if that's real or not. Hey, Kittle back, Kittle touchdown. How about that? Kittle back, Kittle touchdown. All right, and then let's go to receptions. So McCaffrey's at 5.5. I'm going to leave that alone. London's at 5.5. He's probably going to hit that. That's his number one guy to throw the football to. Bijan's at 4.5. I think I'm going to stick with the Bijan yards. Leave Jawan Jennings catches alone. Kendrick Bourne, 4.5 receptions. He's going to exceed that, but he's also going to exceed the yards that I have him at. So I'm just going to leave the yards with Kendrick Bourne. I don't know if Jennings is going to catch the ball. And I don't know if Kittle's going to, you know, Kittle could have 3 catches, but 2 of them go for touchdowns. Like I always like to leave Kittle's catches alone. Drake London is definitely going to catch the football 6 times. 10 last week, 8 the week before that. Like he's definitely going to catch the football, but I don't really have to do that. With what I've already, you know, started to put forth, I don't have to do that. So I don't think there's anything else that really piques my interest at receptions. I haven't done the anytime touchdowns for McCaffrey and Bijan. I'm going to leave McCaffrey alone, even though he's probably going to score. Where is Tyler Algier? Let me get a Tyler Algier touchdown. All right, I'm done. I'm at 159 multiplier. This is insanity. I'm done. I don't know how many more slots I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 for 2,300. What did I tell y'all? It don't take much, right? It doesn't take much. $15 bet could net me $2,400 basically. All right, but I need a lot of shit to happen. But I got Bijan on the receiving yards. I got Christian McCaffrey on the receiving yards. I've got Kendrick Bourne on the receiving yards. And then I got Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, and Tyler Algier all touching pay dirt. If that happens, I'm going to net $2,400. Okay. I love this. I actually love this ticket. It probably isn't going to happen, but I love this ticket. And go Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, and Tyler Algier. Find pay dirt for your man, Louie T. Everything else will take care of itself. Those touchdowns are going to be what makes or breaks this ticket. But I like where I sit. And you see what's going on here, right? You see what's going on here. This is why I tell you guys, this is the best app because you don't need a lot to win a lot, right? Use my promo code LTN to get you 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. They're giving you $23 for downloading the app. I just put $15 down and I might win $2,400. I got a chance to win $2,400. So, gotta love it, man. I'm pressing the button here. I love it. Let's go get this money, man. And you can get this money too. Download the app and let's get busy. All right. So let's make sure that this thing goes through. Come on. All right. There we go. We're set. $15 to win $2,400. Y'all pray for the kid. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream. Download the app. You will not be sorry.
The Skill Game, brought to you by Sleeper.
All right, so that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on this installment of The Skill Game, brought to you by Sleeper. I'll see you guys on Sunday night for the conclusion of this game. We'll talk about the game, but obviously we will look at these picks, see if they came to fruition. Your man could be $2,400 richer. I would love to be able to say that I did that. But whatever happens, we'll be here after the game meets its conclusion on Sunday Night Football overtime to break it all down. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Take care. God bless. Good night.